DNA altered. You said you found traces of things that were not human. Can they still be classified as human beings? What are they now? Their DNA is altered. There are certain elements that are alien elements in their bodies. So what do we still say? Because I remember there was a comment that came out some months ago to say that everybody who's had that COVID-19 jab is no longer human in actual fact. Can you confirm that? So what do they become?
Well, yeah, I guess if we talk technically, if they do have a altered DNA that has now a synthetic laboratory-made code in it, yeah, they may be classified as some other form of human species. Now, this hasn't been talked about by, governmental bodies or, classification agencies as to what they would be. Now, obviously, they're still physically and obviously human. They're not going to grow two limbs, they're not going to start looking like an alien. But again, they will suffer major health consequences, and they may pass that off to offspring as well. And the babies may suffer consequences as well. And so I guess the technical term would be their DNA is now, portions of their DNA would have non-human chimeric hybrids.
A disturbance of the normal protective microbiome. The good bacteria got replaced by bad bacteria. And so much so that we could show that in that 25% of people, they were leaking the bad bacteria, not just in the mucosal compartment, the inside of the airways, but into where the lung is doing its job of putting oxygen into the body and taking carbon dioxide out. And if we made this protective mechanism more effective, because we then worked out what the protection mechanism was, and that is that instead of making the antibody, it wasn't antibodies, it was the T cell. Remember, I think years ago, John, we talked about the two arms of the immune response, the antibody and the T cell. Surprisingly, the antibodies didn't play a big role. The T cells do. And what the T cells do, they don't come from inside the lung. They come from over here in the gut. And in the lining of the gut, there are little factories. And these factories are called Peyer's patches. They're the factories for making immune cells. He made it for antibody. Later, my group in Newcastle found it was also for T cells, particularly for T cells that will travel from the gut, from the small bowel, through the bloodstream and land in the lungs to protect them. But how do you stimulate it? Well, you stimulate it by swallowing your sputum. And it would stimulate the factories to export their T cells. And the T cells would have little receptors on them. But we found that in about a quarter of the people who are chronic smokers, they didn't make these T cells very effectively. And so what we did is, it wasn't a big move. We just said, okay, let's grind up some of these bugs, kill them so they're not going to cause a problem, put them in a little in a tablet and swallow them and see if we can make the process work better. And it did. Over the period of time, and you can see the visits go over 3 months, 2.5, 3 months, there's absolutely no change in the level of antibody in the blood.